This is what we are. We are.
Thank you so much. Wow, so many people. This is quite scary. Hi, just to echo what Kalani said, a huge thank you to IAM for the invitation. It's really, really great to be here. What a really great festival. So my name's Marie. I'm director of something called Somerset House Studios in London. Somerset House Studios is an experimental workspace for artists and makers. It's a very new project. It's actually only been public for the last 18 months, but it's part of a much older institution which looks a bit like this. A 250-year-old neoclassical building right in the center of the capital. Formerly the home to numerous government offices, it's been an arts and culture center, an independently run arts and culture center for the last 20 years. It's most famous for this very swish courtyard. Here's some fountains that we have in the summer. In the winter, there's an ice rink, there's a concert series, kind of so far, so mainstream. And with the establishment of Somerset House Studios towards the end of 2016, it kind of marks a shift in what the organization is doing, moving away from being a receiving house, a place where we just kind of put stuff on, to a place where artists are supported and work is commissioned and produced. Here's an example studio. It's quite a special one. It's actually a former shooting range. The building where we're based used to be offices for the Navy, and then the Inland Revenue, which is the UK tax offices. And this has been converted into a music studio. So we have one of our artists here, Lone Lady, using it for that purpose. So our mission, I guess, is to support work which is experimenting with new technologies, which is engaging with urgent issues and pushing bold ideas. But first and foremost, the studios is a workspace. So it's a place where people pay to come to work. However, it is heavily subsidized by the mother organization, Somerset House, to roughly the tune of about 40% of the current market rate in London. And it's quite hard, actually, to communicate the scale of it without bringing you all over there, which, of course, is not possible. But these studios here, which we call the Vaults, we have 14 of these, and they're actually part of the massive infrastructure of Waterloo Bridge. So that's how central we are. And these are really kind of very, very large spaces, actually. So we offer artists access to a number of resources, a rehearsal space, meeting space. We have workshops with 3D printers and CNC machines. And as of this week, we also have a recording studio, which is really exciting. My background is in music, so it's really great to have that. And the community is cross-disciplinary. So music and technology make up, they're big areas of interest for a lot of our residents, I would say. But we also have dancers, writers, architects, and more recently, broadcasters and club promoters as well, which I'll talk a bit more about later on. Most of the studios are shared, and they're shared across disciplines as well. So we hope that that format is encouraging people to connect. And through this format, we are creating a community, or we have created a community. And I kind of use that word a little bit too much, but it is about community first and foremost. We talk about when we invite artists or artists approach us to be in residence, we're very much looking for artists who are not looking to shut themselves away, but they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So we're not heavy-handed in how we do this, but to kind of explain a little bit about the kind of work that we do and the kind of artists that we have, I'm going to talk a bit about the way in which we discuss contribution with artists. So when someone comes to us, we sort of give them 3 different options of ways in which they can contribute to the bigger community. So the first, when artists apply, we ask them, how might you contribute to the work of other artists? And this can be through workshops, it can be through skill sharing. This is an artist we have had in residence for the last year. His name's Parata. His work crosses film and sound. We had an application before Christmas for a young British and Iranian artist who's a recent graduate, Lily, who applied, very similar practice to Imran. Didn't have the track record, really, for the kind of work that we present, but she had such a spark, and we could see she would hugely benefit from being part of this bigger community. So we actually invited Imran into that process, into that selection process. We got him to meet with her, and as a result, offered her a place with us, with him as a mentor. So this is the kind of things that people kind of pledge into a communal pot, which the team then distribute, and this is how we build a community. Another question that we ask is, are you interested in or interested in learning to work with young people? So this is a growing part of our program also. This is a still from a work that's currently running at Somerset House. It's called Sovereign, and it's by artists called Workflow, who are a games-based design studio. So the artwork, it's a prototype, actually, of a playable video game, which is also an artwork. It's quite new territory. And it inverts the kind of the narrative of a classic shoot-'em-up game, I guess. So the player inhabits the body of a teenage boy, and the game questions lots of things around power structures within British society, and also assumptions made about the sovereignty that young people have. So I'm going to play a very short clip of this, which explains the project a bit better than I can.
Sovereign is set 15, 20 years ago. I think it's important that the story ideas somehow refer back to a sort of current experience as well. Obviously the way that young people engage with this kind of interactive digital media is interesting to us.
We'll make that as like a 3D thing. So we're running a series of workshops at Somerset House with some students who are based all around London. They're sort of 16 to 19-year-olds. One of the sort of thought processes behind that is to, one, get feedback from people who are of a similar age to the protagonists that are in the game that we're making. But it's also kind of like feeding back to them and trying to get them to explore how to use, perhaps some of this technology to sort of widen their horizons a little bit and think a bit more critically or creatively about their environments.
Working on our own game sort of made me appreciate how much hard work goes into it.
I think with gaming or gaming tech, the rules haven't really been written yet and kind of everything's up for grabs. And I think the students seem to respond viscerally to that.
This is a really interesting project for us. Anyone in London, this work actually closes on Sunday, so you can still come and see it. When the artist came to us with the idea, it was a bit of a no-brainer, really, because, I love Workflow, but these are all dudes in their 30s. So as far as having an exciting project to get young people involved in, this group of young people actually came in and acted as critics on the piece and helped them develop the authenticity of the character, because they're kind of a bit long in the tooth, I guess, to be remembering what it's like to be that age. And then in return, the artists taught them how they could use video game technology, not just to play, but actually to create. And we have a number of artists at the studios who are using video games to make new work and using things like Grand Theft Auto, actually, to make their artwork. So the final thing that we ask people about is how might you be interested in contributing to the public-facing program, which is curated, and it runs year-round. It's comprised of exhibitions, of talks, of guest curations from artists, of parties. And increasingly, we find that artists apply to us, and they join the studios, and they actually want to use the platform and the profile we give them to platform the voice of other artists, actually, artists who are less visible within institutions. And that's the case with these guys. This is Resistance. They are club promoters, and they run club nights which champion equality for women, non-binary people, and people of colour on club and festival lineups. And as part of their residence, they'll be running DJ workshops for these groups, and also running safe space workshops for the general public to help other promoters think about how they can run more inclusive club nights. And just to sort of finish up, I guess, this whole club life and independent spaces and DIY cultures have hugely informed the model at Somerset House Studios. And these guys have actually come to us through a series we've been running called Nocturnal City all throughout 2017. We've always been of the opinion, when we set this up, we were in a very fortunate position of having this kind of big government-owned building in the centre of London. It was a complete blank slate, what it was we were doing. And we always felt very indebted, I guess, to the economy that exists around these independent spaces and clubs, how important they are at supporting artists very early in their career, how often they're the first risk takers with an artist or with a DJ or with an electronic musician, but they're also the most at risk because they live in very precarious circumstances. So we did this series last year, which was regular. It's called Nocturnal City, which Resistance took part in, and we discussed the kind of the state and the future of club life in London and its importance and integrity to the wider culture of institutions. And we did each event we did it in discussion with another city. We did London, Berlin, we did London, Manchester, we did London, Montreal. And to conclude, just to get a bit of a flavour of the kind of programming that we do, We did one which was London, Barcelona, and this is a very quick 1-minute video of the event.
The most important bit about the London scene for me is diversity and like maintaining diversity inside the parties.
Yeah, I'm Sonny Graves, come from Barcelona, first time playing in the UK ever. You know, electronic music has always been very, very closely linked to a party vibe, but it's really difficult for like other genres, sort of visions of electronic music to find a space.
What is the balance between kind of commercialism, the underground access, and particular with ticket pricing?
I don't really understand how you could think that you're part of the underground if the cost of getting in is £30.
We really need to see maybe council stepping in and saying these are important spaces to our various communities.
I mean, it does matter that clubs close down, but it really doesn't, because we could always find a basement to put a sound system in. We could always have a party.
Thank you. It's the end.
In randomness, we trust.